Hey everyone, I'm Liz, and today I'm going to show you how I made these crochet mushrooms. You can use this tutorial to make pretty much any size. As you can see, I've made a smaller one here to cover up a chapstick tube. And this larger one here is covering a small mason jar. Some things you're going to need for this tutorial are a crochet hook. I'll be using a size E, a yarn needle to sew in your ends and to sew all the pieces together, a pair of scissors to cut off your yarn. I'll be using a bobby pin to mark my stitches. And if you like, you could use acrylic fiber fill to stuff your mushroom, or you could use a small jar like this one to put inside your mushroom to make it into a container. That's what I'll be using. You'll also need yarn. You could use any color you like, but I'll be using Erin from Red Heart Super Saver for the stem piece, Spring Green from Red Heart Super Saver for the cap piece, White from Red Heart Super Saver for the spots, and you don't have to do this, but I'll be using black from Red Heart to give my mushrooms a pair of eyes. First, I'm going to show you how to make the bottom, the stem of the mushroom. I'm going to begin with a double magic circle. So I'm going to loop my yarn around my fingers twice. Then I'm going to insert my hook into the middle of these two loops, and I'm going to pull up a loop. Then I'm going to chain one. Next I'm going to chain one more, and that's going to count as my first stitch. Now I want to have a total of 6 stitches on my circle, so I'm going to single crochet 5 more times into my circle. Next, I'm going to close my circle. I'm going to first pull the tail a little bit so that I have a larger loop and a smaller loop. Then I'm going to find that smaller loop and pull it from the side closest to the tail until the other loop closes completely. Then to close that last loop, I'm going to pull on the tail, and that loop should close. Next, I need to increase the size of the bottom. First, I'm going to find that chain that I made at the beginning of the work, the one that counts as the first stitch. I'm going to insert my hook into that chain, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And before I continue, I'm going to use a bobby pin to mark this as the first stitch of my row. Then I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet again to increase. And in this row, I'm going to increase every single stitch. So I'm going to single crochet 2 times into the tops of each stitch until I reach the end of my row. So I've gotten to the end of my row. Now I'm going to remove my stitch marker and do the first stitch of the next row. And put my stitch marker back. And in this next row, I'm going to increase every second stitch. So I've done my first stitch. Now I'm just going to increase for the second stitch. So single crochet into the next stitch, then back into that same stitch, single crochet again. And I'm going to continue to increase every second stitch until I reach the end of this row. So I'm at the end of the row. Now I'm going to remove my stitch marker again and do the first stitch. And replace my stitch marker. And in this next row, I'm going to increase every third stitch. You can increase your work as much as you like, but since I'm going to make mine to fit these small jars, I'm going to increase until the stem is the same width as my jars. So this is going to be my last row of increase. So I'm going to single crochet until I get to the third stitch of the row, and in the third stitch, I'm going to single crochet twice to increase. And I'm going to continue to increase every third stitch until I reach the end of my row. So I finished with my row. Now I'm going to stop increasing. If you want, you could continue to increase if you want your piece to be a larger size, or if your containers are a larger size. In this row you would increase every fourth stitch, in the next you would increase every fifth stitch, then every sixth stitch, and so on, until your piece reaches the desired width. But I'm just going to stop increasing here, since my piece is already the same width as my container. In this first row only, I'm going to work only into the back loops so that there will be a line along the bottom edge. You don't need to do this, but I just like this look. So I'm going to continue to single crochet for about 9 more rows to make the stem piece longer. Depending on how big your container is, you may want to do more or less than 9 more rows. Just go on until you reach the length that you want. And I'm also going to continue to mark my first stitches for each row that I do. Then when I get to my second row, I'm going to continue to work in both loops. So I've gotten to the end of 9 more rows. Now I'm going to cut off my yarn, so I'm going to remove my stitch marker. And I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the row. And then I'm going to cut off my yarn. And I'm going to leave a long tail to attach the stem to the cap. Next, I'm going to make the cap of the mushroom, the part that's shaped like a bowl. As you can see, I've already got my magic circle with 6 stitches of single crochet. Now I'm going to find that first chain that I made that counted as the first stitch of the row, and I'm going to single crochet into that chain. And once again, I'm going to mark that as the first stitch of my row before I go on. And then I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet again to increase. And I'm going to increase every stitch of this row until I get back to my stitch marker. So I've gotten back to my stitch marker and I've done the first stitch of the next row, and in this next row I'm going to increase every second stitch, just like I did for the stem part. So I'm going to continue to increase every row until this piece is a little wider than my container. I'm going to increase this bottom part until I'm increasing every 4th stitch. So I'm going to continue to increase every row, but you can increase your piece until it's a little wider than the stem piece, or until it's a little wider than whatever container you're using. So I'm at the end of the row. Now I'm going to remove my stitch marker again and do the first stitch. If you want, you could continue to increase if you want your piece to be a larger size, or if your containers are a larger size. In this row you would increase every 5th stitch, in the next you would increase every 6th stitch, and so on. But I'm just going to stop here, since my piece is already about as wide as my container. It's a little wider, and I'm going to go on for 2 more rows. Then I'm going to continue to mark my first stitch of the row as I go. So I've gotten to the end of 2 more rows of single crochet without increasing. Now I'm going to increase for 1 more row. Since in my last row of increase I increased every 4th stitch, now I'm going to increase every 5th stitch. But you should increase by whatever number you increased last, plus 1. So I've already done the first stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet just once in the next 3 stitches. And here on the 5th stitch of the row, I'm going to single crochet, then back into that same stitch, I'm going to single crochet again to increase. And I'm going to continue to increase every 5th stitch until I get to the end of my row. So I've gotten to the end of my row and done my first stitch. Now I'm going to stop increasing and I'm going to single crochet for 3 more rows. Depending on how wide you made your piece, you may want to do more or less than 3 more rows, but I'm going to continue without increasing for just 3 rows, and then I'm going to continue to mark my first stitch as I go. I've gotten to the end of 3 more rows of single crochet, and now I'm going to begin to decrease. But in this row, I'm going to crochet only in the back loops, and I'm going to leave the front loops open so that I can crochet in them later. Now I'm going to decrease for a few more rows until the bottom of the cap is the same width as the stem piece. Since my last increase was every 5th stitch, I'm going to decrease every 5th stitch now, but you should decrease by whatever number you increased by. So I'm going to single crochet only in the back loops until I get to the 5th stitch. And now I'm going to decrease. So I'm going to pull up a loop in the next 2 stitches, the 5th and the 6th. And then I'm going to crochet those 2 stitches together. And I'm going to continue to decrease every 5th and 6th stitch together until I get to the end of the row, and I'm going to continue to work only in the back loops for this row. So I've gotten to the end of my row, and now I'm going to stop working in just the back loops and crochet into both loops. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker and do the first stitch of the row. And now I'm going to decrease for 1 more row and crochet in both loops this time. So I'm going to single crochet 2 more stitches. And then in the 4th and 5th stitch, I'm going to pull up a loop and crochet together. And I'm going to do that all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. So I've gotten to the end of my row, and now I'm going to cut off my yarn. So I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch of the row, and cut off my yarn. And I'm going to leave a long tail so that I can attach the cap to the stem when I'm done. And now I'm going to crochet into those front loops that I left right here. So I'm going to pull up a loop at the back of my work, and chain one. And then I'm going to single crochet into each loop all the way around. So I've gotten to the last of my loops and single crocheted all the way around, so now I'm going to slip stitch to the first chain that I made. And cut off my yarn. And then I'm just going to take my yarn needle and sew in this end. Next, I'm going to show you how to make the spots that go on the outside of the mushroom cap. You can make these spots as big as you like and as many as you like. It all depends on the look that you want. But I'm going to be making 5 spots out of double crochet. If you want to make a smaller spot, all you have to do is make another magic circle with 6 stitches and slip stitch to the first chain to end the spot. And if you want a larger spot, you could just continue to increase until you get the size that you like, just like we increased for the stem and the cap pieces. So I'm going to begin with a double magic circle, so I'm going to loop my yarn around my fingers twice and insert my hook into the middle of those 2 loops. Then I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 1. Next I'm going to chain 2 more, and that's going to count as my first stitch. Now I want to have a total of 8 stitches on my circle, so I'm going to double crochet 7 more times onto my circle. So to double crochet, I'm going to yarn over my hook, pull up a loop, then pull through 2, and pull through 2 more. So now I have 2 stitches. I'm going to double crochet 6 more times for a total of 8 stitches. And now that I have my 8 stitches, I'm going to close my magic circle the same way I did before by pulling on the tail a little bit, pulling on the smaller loop from the side closest to the tail, and then pulling on the tail to close the loop. And now to finish this spot, I'm just going to slip stitch to that chain that I made that counted as the first stitch. and cut off my yarn. And I'm going to leave a long enough tail so that I can sew these spots onto the mushroom cap. Now you can sew your spots in whatever way you like. I'm going to place my spots with one each at the front and the back of the cap. And I'm going to place one on each side. And then I'm going to place one more on the top of the cap. Now that all of my spots are sewn on, I'm going to use some black yarn to add some little eyes to the front of my stem piece before I attach it to the cap. And now I just need to attach the cap to the stem. If you're going to use fiberfill instead of a container, you should add stuffing to both pieces of your mushroom first. Then slip the cap over the stem piece. And sew it all the way around so that none of that fill pops out. But if you want to make these mushrooms with a container inside, you'll want to leave the cap and the stem open to access the container. So I'm going to take that long tail that I left at the stem. I'm going to take my hook, and I'm going to pull up a loop of that tail at the back of my work. And then I'm going to chain 9. Then I'm going to pull the rest of my tail through. Next I'm going to take my cap. I still have the tail of the cap sticking out here. So I'm going to take that tail and take my stem, and into that last chain that I just made at the back of my stem, I'm going to pull up a loop of my tail, and I'm going to slip stitch into every chain that I made using my green tail. And once I've reached the bottom of the chain, I'm going to pull the rest of my tail through. And then I'm just going to sew in the rest of these tails. So now, as you can see, all of my mushrooms are finished, and I can open and close them. I hope you all liked this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions, then you can get in touch with me on Facebook and Tumblr or down in the comments section below. If you like what I do and would like to support me in making new videos, please consider donating to my Patreon page. Links in the description. And if you want to see more tutorials in the future, then please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!